Estás escuchando Red Podcast.
This is a special Valentine's Day edition of Red Podcast. This episode, things I love, specifically things that'll help you write your book.
This is the Red Podcast, the marketing podcast for influencers. Rise above the noise. Expand your audience. Deliver impact. Here's your host, David Hooper.
A very special episode of Red Podcast is the Valentine's Day edition, Stuff I Love. The Red Podcast, the podcast for influencers, the holy trinity of influence is what I talk about: books, podcasts, and live events. If you've got a message that you want to spread and you want to make people care about, this is the podcast for you. Have I mentioned that I'm working on a book right now? I'm about 2 years in, maybe 3. I've lost track. You know, you log into Facebook and they'll tell you what you were doing 1 year ago. About a year ago, I finished up the manuscript for this book, 130,000 words. Still working on it. I will keep you updated. But on this episode, I'm going to talk about how I've gotten this far. This isn't my first book. I've done several. And on this episode, I'm talking about things I love when it comes to writing books. I've got a 3-step process for writing books. The first thing is planning and organization. The second step, which is what I finished a year ago, that's the first draft. The third, and perhaps most painful step, editing. Great books are made in the edit. We had a saying in the music business for songwriters, and it was that good songs are written, great songs rewritten. And that's basically what I'm doing right now. I'm rewriting this book again and again and again. On the final edit right now, it takes a while, but it's worth it in the end. Let's talk about the tools to make it happen. For organization and planning, I love an outliner. It's called Tree. It's available on Macintosh. It's in the App Store. Let you get all your ideas down and then drag and drop them into order. Super cool for podcasts, for speeches, anything that you need to organize that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It is wonderful. It costs you about $12. It's very similar to what a lot of people do on note cards. So if you're a note card person, you might enjoy Tree. redpodcast.com/V01 for everything that I'm talking about here. For ideas, as I'm going through the drafting process, there's an app for iPhone. It's called Drafts, Drafts. And if you're out, you have an idea, you can dictate to this thing. It'll change it to text. You can type into it, and it allows you to email those ideas to you. You can text them to somebody else. You can file them away on Evernote if you like to organize your ideas that way. It's very good at helping you organize your ideas because if you're like me, you get a lot of ideas that come up during the writing process. Sometimes those ideas, they land on the back burner. You don't see them until it's too late to work them into the book. Drafts will help you organize all those ideas. I also use an audio recorder. It's called Dictaphone. Whenever I come up with an idea, pull out my iPhone, press record. It records the message. I can store that message within Dictaphone. I can email it to myself. If you've listened to Red Podcast for a while, you've probably heard conversations where people will show up at my door and they're either trying to sell me on some kind of religion, they're trying to sell me Girl Scout cookies or some other kind of food, or they're trying to sell me a service like lawn care, pest control, internet access. Whenever somebody knocks on my door, I start recording. I record all those conversations because I think they're such great examples. And those recordings are done with Dictaphone. When I start working on the first draft, use a program called Scrivener. Again, this will be linked at redpodcast.com/V01. When it comes to organizing ideas, Scrivener is great for that. There's an outlining element very similar to what I use Tree for. If you want a tree alternative, Scrivener has one built in. What's great about this is you can move entire chapters around. This is where I was with my current book project, and one of the reasons that things have taken so long is that the elements within my book have been moved around 3 or 4 different times. It's a completely different book than I was working on 6 months ago. It's a completely different book than I finished a year ago, and certainly a completely different book than the one I started on a couple of years ago. If you're somebody like me and you've got these big ideas and you're not quite sure where they fit into your book, you're going to love the organizational process of Scrivener. Remember, great books are made in the edit. And that's one of the great things that I love about Scrivener. But probably the best part for me is there's a word counter that's built in. You tell it how many words that you want. Let's say you've got 50,000 words. You tell it how long you want to take on the first draft. 50 days, 50,000 words. Well, that's 1,000 words a day. If you miss the first 25 days, it's going to let you know that you've got 2,000 words per day. So this is great in the overall scheme of keeping a deadline on that first draft. It looks just like a fuel gauge. It's a great long-term planner. It's a great element to keep you writing and writing and writing until you get those individual days done, so you don't end up on the 49th day of a 50-day schedule not having done the work that it's going to take to get this thing out in a timely way. I mentioned the 3-step process for getting a book out, at least getting the manuscript done. It's planning and organization. The second is getting that initial draft, and the third is the edit. And when it comes to editing, I do not use Scrivener. And the reason that I don't use Scrivener is because nobody edits with Scrivener. Your hardcore editors, they're all going to use Word. I don't like Word. I like something called LibreOffice or OpenOffice. But everybody uses Word. Therefore, I use Word when it comes to the edit. And the reason everybody uses it is because you can track changes. I can give an editor a manuscript. She can fix things. She can delete things. She can add things. And I can see every single thing that she's done. And I can approve each thing, or I can ignore it and leave it the way that it was. So if you've got a lot of people working on a document, you want to see what various people are doing. You like one editor, but you hired another editor. You don't like what he's done. You can reject every single thing that second editor has done with one click. Reject all. Done. Takes it back to the original document. So for editing, I use Word. So that's a simple scaled down list of tools that I use to get a manuscript done. One thing I want to add though is I want to talk about keeping on track. Don't overcomplicate this. There are a lot of time management solutions. There are a lot of planners. There are a lot of gimmicks that claim you can be more effective, more productive by purchasing them. Will they work for you? I don't know. Most of them don't work for me. My advice for when it comes to getting your book done, don't overcomplicate this. Here's what I like to do. Dedicated blocks of time done consistently. I block out my week. Every Monday, for example, 9 a.m. to noon, there's a block of time dedicated to writing. Nothing else is happening. Only writing or only working on the book. In this stage, editing. Within those blocks of time, I like to use the Pomodoro method. Get a kitchen timer, set it for 25 minutes. Work. No distractions for 25 minutes. Take 5 minutes off. Reset the timer for 25 minutes. 5 minutes off. And continue that until you're done with your 3-hour block. To help with consistency, making sure that I don't skip days. Again, if you've got a 50-day project, day 49, not the time to start working on it. You want to start on day 1, and the best way to make sure you're not overwhelmed is to be consistent. To help with consistency, I use an app called Goal Streaks. More or less, I just put a check, but more or less it's a calendar, and I check off every single day that I work. Don't break the chain. That's the goal. To help with focus, that Pomodoro timer that I use, it's called Focus Time. I've got a version for iPhone. I've got a version for my Mac, and they sync up to let me know how focused I've been at the end of each day. In addition, I've also got a program. It's called Window Focus. You know, your desktop gets really messy. There's a lot going on. It's sometimes hard to focus on the one window that you want to focus on. The Window Focus app can help with that. It blacks out the desktop. The only thing that you see is the window that you're working on. In this case, for me, a Word document if I'm editing, a Scrivener document if I'm writing that first draft. If you're somebody who gets distracted by all the options that you have online, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, there's a great program. It's free. It's called Self-Control, which actually turns off your internet or blocks you from accessing certain sites. It's called Self-Control. It's free. Like the Pomodoro method, you set a timer. It blocks every site that you find distracting so you can focus on your work. This will be linked in redpodcast.com/V01. It's a free program, well worth the install. Next episode, if you're interested in getting a book or other big project that you want done yourself, I'm going to talk about hustle. Specifically, I think it's been marketed all wrong. What we think of as hustle, not real hustle. I'm going to explain the lie we call hustle and what true hustle is, How to get the highest quality work done in the least amount of time. That is next on Red Podcast to make sure that you don't miss it. redpodcast.com. One click is all it takes for you to subscribe and never miss an episode. Doesn't matter if you use an iPhone, an Android, you listen via the web. One click is all it takes. You'll never miss an episode, and you'll get that next one, episode 221, The Lie We Call Hustle. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time on the next episode of Red Podcast.
You've been listening to Red Podcast, the marketing podcast for influencers. Never miss an episode. Subscribe now with your iPhone, Android, or via RSS at redpodcast.com.
File them on Evernote.